Well, howdy folks, Hellcrux here, and welcome to episode 96 from Mercenary's Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today we're going to be talking about a 65-ton mech that's from the Star League, the Bombardier, or Bombardier, I guess if you're French. Now, it's an interesting mech that I think it harkens back to the early days of when they first started designing these mechs, and the whole concept of maybe fire support started taking root. So let's just delve into this thing. What I like about it, what I don't like about it. Now, we're talking about the 39 version out of the 3039 book first. Yes, we're going to go into the Star League one next. It is a 460 mech. Comes in at 1,300 plus points. Only has 10 heat sinks, which come on the fusion reactor. Has 200 points of armor, which is pretty good for something that is 65 tons. Now, the interesting thing is that it carries around two LRM-20s, one in the right torso and one in the left torso, with 2 tons of ammo. And then we have an SRM-4 in the right arm with a ton of ammo, and a machine gun in the center torso with a ton of ammo to go with it. A machine gun. Why do you need a ton of ammo? I don't think so. Half a ton maybe. Now, what I kind of like about it is that, well, it's 4.6. It gets around pretty good for a 65-ton mech. It has a couple LRM-20s. What's not to like? You know, you can dish out up to 40 points of damage out to 21 hexes if you hit and get lucky with both your die rolls. Odds are you're going to be hitting with only 24 because that's about the average. You get 12 out of it, give or take, sometimes a little more, a little less. So you're putting a lot of firepower into those two weapon systems. So yeah, you can get around, move around. It's the same thing as like if you have an archer or a catapult or a dervish that is more of a dedicated fire support mech, or heck, even we just talked about the last one, the longbow, where you can just find yourself a nice little Barca lounger area to kick back, relax, put your feet up, and just sit there and launch missiles until the ammo bays are dry. You know, so you just park yourself in either an indirect, direct fire position, and you just go to town on somebody and rip their armor off without usually have to worry about too much of someone shooting back at you. But it all comes at a drawback, which is 12 shots out of the 2 launchers. So you get 6 turns of fire coming out of this thing before the ammo bays are dry. There's been many games where I've been played where before even anybody gets into the rugby scrum zone in the center of the map someplace and they start punching and kicking, this thing's already empty. So you just have a 65-ton mech carrying around 20 tons worth of weaponry that it can't use anymore. So there is a drawback big time with this mech. I think it goes back to the early days when they first designed this thing, is that, yeah, it was walk up to the front, unload its weaponry, and then turn around and walk away and go reload. So that's kind of like the whole concept, I think, about this whole mech, is that it's something you just unload with it, and then when it's empty, you turn around and go away. And you just walk off the board with 1,300 battle value. Or you could go into the fray and get in there and start just shooting your SRM-4 and hopefully getting close enough with the machine gun and then try to kick somebody. So that's basically what you end up with, a 65-ton mech running around with an SRM-4 and a machine gun. Because it doesn't take very long. In the games I played in the standard version, it is empty really quick. So that's it. There are some variants that, you know, it's basically pilot So if you got one of these mechs in your house or your mercenary company, you decide, I'm going to change some things with it. But yeah, there's some. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. Now, let's just talk about its big brother, the one that came out of the Star League. Now, the Star League version, the 12D. Let me look here. The 12D was, yeah, its battle value was roughly about the same. All right. Now, the Star League version is a 580, and you say, 580, man, that thing's pretty fast. That's because the Star League version carried around an XL engine. Big difference. So they put an XL engine on it, increased its speed, so it can get around a little faster. So this suddenly gives you a different kind of idea what maybe this thing could be doing. It could be a quick flanker that will deliver some missiles and a flank pretty quickly with those two LRM-20s. It's the same loadout except for some minor differences, and get into a flank pretty quickly. Now, another big thing is that it has 10 double heat sinks. Ooh, 10 double heat sinks. Well, that's interesting. Why is it big difference? Because we'll talk about, we'll go back to the first one in here in a second. Both have LRM-20s. They both have the same number of shots with it, so 12, so you get 6. Has case in the right torso, where basically you have, if I remember right, you got a, yeah, everything is in the right torso, so it's carried. So if any criticals go in the right torso, you got a pretty good shot of either taking the launcher out or hitting the ammo if you can get that close. It has in the right arm still an SRM-4 with a ton of ammo. The big difference though is it carries an anti-missile system. Ooh, anti-missiles. So if somebody starts shooting missiles at you, you can shoot them down. In the center torso with a ton of ammo to go with it, and it's a half ton for the anti-missile system. So that's why you suddenly notice that it has a machine gun. So the anti-missile system wasn't in the 30, 25, 39 era or the succession wars because that technology disappeared. And so now you replace it with something, well, we can just put a machine gun in there. So it's basically kind of like a machine gun, but it's used for shooting down missiles. So, okay. Now we know that there's a big difference between the two of them, is that one has double heat sinks, one does not, and one is faster than the other. So if you ever get your hands on a Star League version, well, you're in luck. Okay. Let's go back to the original, not the original, but the 39 version of the book. Alright, so you have 10 heat sinks with this thing and 2 LRM-20s, which cause 6 points of heat each. So that you're suddenly looking at a whopping 12 heat just from the launchers alone. Now, if you're parked someplace nice and comfy in your Barca lounger, that isn't too big a deal. So if you're not planning on moving anytime soon, you could launch three times, 4 times without moving, and you're going to 8 up on the heat scale. So yeah, your movement is now going to be a 3-5, but you know, you're not having any problems. Now, on the 5th launch, you're going to only launch 1 missile because obviously the next time you're going to be heating yourself up enough where you're going to have some modifiers to hit with. So you're not going to want to do that. So you're going to cool back down, and then the next you're going to be doing another double shot, and then you have 1 left in the launcher. That's if you don't move. Now if you do move, so if you walk, okay, you're going up 13. So you're looking at up 3, okay, and then the next turn you might want to only launch 1 if you're walking. Okay, if you run, and with a limited amount of ammo on this thing, I don't know if I would fire this thing if I'm running, because you only get 6 salvos out of each launcher. I'd be more inclined not to fire if I'm running. Yeah, you can gamble if you want to, depending on, I guess, if the target is like an immobile target. Yeah, that might be you know, something I would do, because you're getting some modifiers there to help you hit. So, okay. It's situational what you do, but most of the time I probably wouldn't fire if I'm running. So if you do run, you go up 2, 4, you can do that for 1 turn, and then you're going to turn around and not fire something. So you see how that kind of works. Now, let's just talk about what you would do if I owned this thing. Well, the biggest thing I would do is, there's a couple options. Either you dump the machine guns and the ammo that goes with it, that's 1.5 tons. So I would turn around, maybe put on 2 heat sinks. So you're now sitting at 12 heat sinks. That kind of take care of the problem with the heat if you're sitting there parked. Okay, so you could park and fire all 6 salvos out without moving, if you're able to do that, and not worry about heat. And then you can just walk into the fray of battle if you want to with an SRM4 and a couple with a fist or a kick. Alright, so there's an option right there. Option 2 is that you dump the SRM, you dump the machine gun ammo, put 2 heat sinks on it, and then you put 2 medium lasers and a small laser instead of the SRM. Alright, so now you don't have to worry about ammo at all. Now you're just a pure energy once you're done with your 6 salvos. And then you can go in there, so you're going to be looking at, best 8, 9 heat, so you're never going to heat up. And I would put those 2 medium lasers and stuff, I'd put them like in my center torso or something, in replace of that machine gun array that you had. And then you can get into close and either punch to your heart's content or kick if you want to. That's up to you. Now, a third option is we could go with the original mech, and then you would look at dumping the 2 LRM-20s in favor of a couple LRM-15s. That wouldn't be so bad, you'd think. And with that right there, so you could do that. And obviously when you replace it with a couple of LRM-15s, you could, the extra tonnage that you have, you could give yourself an extra ton of ammo for each one, and that would also leave you with a bunch of tonnage left over. So you're looking at, I think, 3 more tons. You could either max out your armor and add maybe a heat sink and then maybe a couple more medium lasers, or upgrade. Say you want to keep that SRM, you could probably upgrade the SRM to an SRM-6. There's some options there. So you look at it that way. Yeah, your firepower at long range decreases, but then you're increasing the amount of time it shoots. So you're suddenly looking like kind of like a catapult in a way, which, you know, it depends on what area you're playing. So if you're playing in the Star League or first part of the Succession War, like campaigns during that time frame, you may either have a Star League version with all the goodies on it, or you may end up just having the next version that's been downgraded. And you have, I would just downgrade the, what do you call it, the LRMs to LRM-15s, and that would give you, over the course of the game, more damage that you could do. So you can sit there and shoot for 16 turns. You can do 16 salvos at 15. That's a lot more damage. So put it in that terms, yeah, it's probably a better way to go with it than just with the LRM-20s. I like the LRM-20s because the other option I guess you could do is dump the SRM-4 in favor of a medium laser and then a couple more tons of ammo. You can do it that. That's an option too. So then it would stay in battle longer. So your mileage may vary. So it's up to you how you want to use it. And if you're a mercenary commander, well, obviously you probably have the newer version that doesn't have all the fun toys and goodies from the Star League on it. So sky's the option, you know, because they talked about there's really not too many options on board. And it does say in the variant is that most individual warriors have downgraded the missile launchers for other optional smaller launchers and other assorted weaponry. So it is a thing that you may want to try out. So that is the Bombardier, or Bombardier, if you're French. And in a nutshell, not a bad mech. It just needs a little bit of tweaking, and it's up to the pilot if he wants to do that. Now, if you're stuck in a house and you're stuck in a scenario where you're stuck with the original version, you're going to shepherd that ammo as best you could and take the best shots you can, because once it's gone, and you're stuck with a pugilist, basically. Alright, hope you guys enjoy it. You got any stories about how ever using one of these things? Let me know, put it down below, and like and subscribe. This is Hellcrex, and you guys have a great one. Hellcrex out.